Okay, in the first round, it was the Help at Home program. Okay, so this particular program, this came about during the pandemic, with a lot of our services needing to go virtual, as during the first wave, essentially the first closures, all our services had to go virtual as we were deemed by the ministry needing to close those services. So a lot of our families were left out in the lurch, some not having the appropriate Wi-Fi access, equipment, even our staff. A lot of our work is very much hands-on with the kids, with the families. So we were able to use, thanks to the first round of funding, we were able to buy some iPads, get some cell phones, be able to get kind of interactive apps that would help kids. It was quite challenging at first, but that bit of funding was really, really helpful. We really spent it on really technology, and we put a lot of that technology in the hands of the families, and it really helped us continue to serve kids while we were all kind of getting through that all that first wave of it. So in many, many ways, with here at 5 counties, we provide services to kids 0 to 18, and even some a little bit older than that. And our vision is bringing abilities for life, and building abilities for life, excuse me. And it really was allowing kids to have that connection with their therapist, to continue going forward with their treatment. Speech did very, very well. So with the good cameras and all of that sort, we were able to really do well with speech. Some of our other services, we do OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy, physiotherapy. We have autism services. So we help kids for any kind of, most every disability that you have out there. And so it's really trying to intervene as early as possible. Today we have infant hearing going on right behind me. So if you hear little babies crying, it's we're testing, testing their hearing. So we were doing so much for the children. We have school-based rehab services. So when the kid has a little bit of some challenges in school, we're able to kind of parachute into that school, give the teachers, the families, and the kids the resources so they can be the most successful that they can. So the second round was our backyard project. And we're looking at right now, what COVID did with us is we had to look at, especially in the summer, we have to look at our open spaces. We got to look at other ways in which we can safely treat kids. And so in our locations, we're lucky to have some really nice backyards. And for kids, it's a great opportunity to put things in like training beams to help kids balance, tactile paths, kind of all kinds of different really cool stuff for kids to interact with, a sensory garden, even wheelchair accessible picnic tables. Those were all some of the stuff that we were able to put towards that second round of funding. So it really was that having access to open air locations and open air spaces for kids. And, one of the things I hear very common from the families is, well, it's great that we're doing the virtual and it's great that we can continue. My child can't sit in front of a screen and talk to an adult for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It's we're not as entertaining as Paw Patrol. And we try, we really do, but it is hard. And some of our kids have attention deficit disorder. And some are just little kids, and you try to sit them and here, look at that
Yeah.
screen, and it just becomes much more challenging. So being able to engage them in a backyard with fun stuff to that also helps build their strength in their legs or in their body, as well as interacting. A lot of cool stuff. So funding to this kind of programs really is it's just underway, but we're going to have a really fun experience for the kids. Just kind of how I was saying, right? It is building the abilities for the kids, and when the kids have more opportunity to interact, and we often do, non-COVID, we would do
Yeah.
these things in groups as well, and it helps kids see other kids with other different challenges,
Hmm.
and creates friendships,
Right.
and also creates confidence, and often they are maybe the one or two or three children in their school, maybe in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
And that is somewhat isolating, but you come into groups, and especially when we can do it outdoors, you're going to run into kids with all different levels of abilities, and it's bonding. And so there's so many different ways this benefits the community, but really it's just helping those kids gain that confidence that will help them throughout life. Yeah. So our first round, like I mentioned,
Hmm.
we had to close the doors and go completely virtual, and that was a big, really, it was a big wake up call for the ministry in the
Hmm.
province to realize these children treatment centers are essential.
Yeah.
And so we were able to open the doors back up this summer and get back in seeing in-person kids.
Hmm.
We had, Maddie, we had some kids that prior to COVID were walking and they reverted to crawling because they couldn't get the necessary treatment that we provide. Because not everything translates in a virtual world.
Hmm.
But virtual is something that will stay with us. I think we did realize there's lots of benefits for families. If you think of the busy working family and trying to get to an appointment when you've got food on the stove, you got all those things, and you can just kind of log on, see your therapist, have the kid work with a therapist, and then you're saving the time on the travel. You're saving having to bring multiple kids. I have three kids of my own, and so when we go one place when they were little, I had to take all of them.
Yeah.
And so you got to make sure you have enough snacks for all, things to engage them while the other one is actually in their appointment. And we, so this is that's a big benefit for families. And I think that we're going to continue that when it's in the best interest of the child and the family. Well, actually, it's quite interesting. I started this job in the pandemic.
Okay.
I'm a relatively new CEO,
Hmm.
so this whole the children's treatment center sector is a bit new to me. I've always worked in mental health,
Okay.
and but what we saw during the pandemic with community services is that it was incredible resilience. Staff scrambled. Uh, they found all different ways to be able to help the families, help still be able to provide the services. And they did this at their own risk. We haven't gone through a pandemic. None of us alive have gone through a pandemic. And so knowing these people who are waking up each day and donning the proper PPE and still seeing the kids in person, it was amazing to see their resilience, amazing to see their courage as well, and they keep doing it,
Hmm.
and it's exhausting at times, and there's a level of fatigue that goes with it. So what I've really learned is just we really have to appreciate um, the courage and the dedication that these services have to keep that work going, because it's
Yeah.
easy to close the
Yeah.
door and But no, everybody's in it for the right reasons, and it's wonderful to keep seeing everybody come to work each day, even when it was a bit scary and family members were saying, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Everybody's saying us go home, but we are essential, and we can't just do that. We got to keep helping. Well, I think, and I'm not going to call myself an expert.
Yeah.
That period, that time is still learning. What I'm seeing with it is that we have such a need out there. Um, it far outweighs the services that we have. We have kids who wait extremely long times for treatment.
Hmm.
And it's not because the organizations are not well run or well organized. It is just there are not enough staff and there's not enough funding
Hmm.
to provide all the services that are needed. And so we see kids, having to wait. And when kids are waiting, it just really delays things, and it delays progress. So really the need is access to more, speech services, OT. These are all in everywhere in healthcare. There's no, no one disorder or one area of healthcare is, we could say, overfunded. It's people really need the help, and it's something that we got to keep trying to become more innovative, more finding ways to help more kids in more ways, and look at ways where we can, really engage the families, engage the parents, where they can help become the providers too of some of the treatment. And that way, we can definitely achieve some of our goals.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we do that. It's a great question. We do it in many different ways.
Okay.
We for one, we always look at how much time it takes
Hmm.
to get into the programs and who's coming into the programs, and we try to match need with the right service. So we're, someone who needs, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, they need a 5 level service. We'll make sure we're not giving them a 10 or not a 1. We're actually matching the right need, and trying to, you know, with that, you can kind of save the high intensity services for the kids who have those high intensity needs. The other thing is we also quite frequently survey the families
Okay.
and how are they doing. We have assessment tools where we can kind of measure progress, but we're surveying the families and the staff to see, it wasn't an effective experience. And we do have, I have to say, we have a big dedicated group of families that support 5 counties, and they're very passionate about the services and happy with the treatment. And when they're not, they make sure they let us know, and that's just as valuable,
Hmm.
if not more so, because it's always important to figure out ways we can continue to improve. So we look at the metrics. We also look at the actual qualitative feedback. Well, if you have kids who are having speech challenges, or if you
Hmm.
have kids really just having, physical limitations, it can have significant impacts in their confidence and their ability to how they perform in school. Those have, if you're waiting to, um, get the necessary adaptive equipment to even be able to communicate.
Hmm.
So it can be that significant where we have part of our services is augmentative communication systems, where waiting for that, you
Yeah.
were literally giving a voice to the child that previously didn't have one, and families would have kind of a nonverbal way of communicating with the child. But we do have devices that we can train the family and the child on how to talk to each other when speech isn't there. So There, honestly, Maddie, I could probably give you 10 to 12 different stories of how delays or how lack of access can severely impact where children go. The support that we get is amazing. We are overwhelmed by the great generosity, uh, and it's so wonderful to see organizations like United Way really support agencies like us, because we do have a big impact in the community, as does United Way. And these partnerships, because everybody knows it's just the funding's just not enough, and you can do really cool things when the funding comes without too many ties on it, and you can then, get that iPad to a family that needs it. You can get all kinds of different cool things that really will have an impact on children.